again, and welcome to another episode of the N.O.W show. On today's episode, we're going to be dealing with the topic, victory over illness through dependency. Well, many people have been hit by one illness or the other, some terminal. But from my experience with my story I'm going to share, I have learned that the only way you can have victory over any kind of illness is through dependency on our Maker. On the 9th of July 2013, I had just come back with my children. My first child was only 18. She had just finished her A-levels and we had come back from her graduation ceremonies. I had a day's break and I decided to go to work. I went to work normal day, very completely normal day. And at the office, I felt a kind of slight headache. Usually at the beginning of every month, I'm on one program or the other. I need it every time, so I do it. And by evening, I felt the headache was a bit, it had advanced. But I dropped my son earlier with his friend on my way to work, and I promised I would pick him up on my way back. And that day was a midweek service. I needed to go to church. At church, I sat down, and I wasn't feeling very comfortable. I wasn't feeling well. In fact, somebody saw me and said to me that I was looking different because I wasn't my usual bubbly self. But I couldn't put my finger on it. But the headache, I now felt it was so bad, I needed to go home. So I entered the car on my way, stopped to pick up my son, and my son's friends' parents were trying to talk to me, but I wasn't myself, but I couldn't show it. By the time I got home, I'd called my cook on the bridge. I'd said I needed to break my fast, make some food for me. And we walked inside the house, and I just went upstairs, thinking he'll bring my food to me. And that was the last thing I remembered. I sat on the couch, and that was the last thing I remembered. Apparently, I'd passed out. It was a commotion in my house that, woke me up because I'd passed out, and my cook was screaming, my son, my daughters, everybody was going. I could see all of them, but I'd lost my speech. I couldn't talk to them. I couldn't say anything. And that made my children all the more worried, all the more afraid. And they kept saying, "Mommy, say something to us. Mommy, say something to us." I had the words in my head. I wanted to say something to them, to tell them, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. My first daughter went in, she got anointing oil, came and poured on me. They were, of course, confused. They were between 18 and 14, so they were young, relatively young. And they called my sister, began the journey to the hospital. They had to carry me because, I couldn't move, I couldn't do anything. We didn't know what had happened. Nobody had an explanation for it. And we got to the hospital. And bam, diagnosis. I'd had a stroke at the age of 44, going on 45. I was, of course, devastated, shattered. At the hospital, they said I needed to go to their head office branch because they needed to attend to me immediately. They couldn't handle me there. They needed to run a lot of tests and things like that. There began my journey. Here I was, a stroke. How could I deal with that? I had to learn to talk again, to walk again, to write again. I had to learn everything all over again. I went back to the state where I was a child, and I needed to learn to do most things that I had done up to when I was an adult. Why do I say dependency? I had victory over stroke because I depended on God. When I was in the hospital with the diagnosis, seeing my state, when I had to get up and go for a test downstairs, they had to put me in a wheelchair. I knew I had no other choice but to depend on God. I told my sister, my children, I said nobody needed to stay with me in the hospital. I would stay in the hospital. And I didn't want any pity party. I told them don't tell anybody because I just knew that I had to rely on God and I needed my time. So that time was my me time with God. Of course, as expected, I would have visitors during the day, but I couldn't wait for the visitors to leave because then it was just me and God. And at those times, I would cry and talk to him and say, my illness can never bring you glory. I cannot be in this state and say to people that I have a God. You have no choice but to heal me. You have no choice but to heal me. I remember my friend coming to see me with her husband, and she said to me that with the way that I served God, if God didn't do anything, that she was going to stop serving God. And I said, no, that was not the attitude to have, because I knew that through that illness, I was going to have a story to tell, because it was going to give me a testimony. I knew I had a right to healing. It might have sounded arrogant or even derogatory to God at that time, but it was his promise to us. I knew that the smallest strand of hair on my head mattered to him. How much more my entire body, my whole body. So I said, I am a joint heir with the Son. So healing had to be my passion. A damaged body can only translate to a damaged mind. And God does not want me damaged in any way. And if I had a damaged mind and a damaged body, I would have a damaged feeling towards him. In order for me to feel good with myself and feel good with him that I served, I needed to be healed. So I had to totally depend on him. I asked him for the healing. I cried for the healing. I yearned for the healing. I wanted it. I had the faith. And did he heal me? Yes, he did. Because here I am today, fully restored. I can talk. The whole essence of this show is talking. If I did not survive that illness, I would not be standing here and talking. I needed to learn to talk. I did not look at it at that time that losing my speech meant I could never talk again. When I started learning to talk, my speech was slurred, but I knew he was going to restore me fully. I can talk very well now. I thank him, because it can only be by my dependency on him. It could only have been it that brought me to the state where I am today. From the state of a stroke patient to a state where I'm fully restored and I can sit behind the cameras and talk to people. As soon as I came round, I knew what had happened. I had no feeling on the right side of my body, not any. And the scripture that came to me immediately was, call on me in the day of trouble, and I will answer you. And I said this was a day of trouble. And all I did was I said, crying to him, Father, have mercy. Father, have mercy. Mercy, so that he could have compassion upon me. He could just choose to have favor and help me, because I needed his help at that time. So all I could ask for was his mercy. Then it occurred to me that maybe, just maybe my sins was a blockage to that mercy, for me receiving that mercy. Because after all, what happened earlier that day was because I shouted on my PA, I screamed on her from some perceived wrong, which was what gave me the headache in the first place. So I switched and I started saying, Baba, have mercy on my children. In fact, I started speaking my local Western dialect. I kept saying, Baba, I shall not woman. I just kept asking for mercy for my children. Have mercy on me, have mercy on my children. Even in the ambulance, transferring from one branch of the hospital to the next branch of the hospital, all I kept asking for was mercy. And that mercy that God so richly gives availed for me. And I just cannot thank him enough for putting it in me at that time to ask for that mercy. And I know that mercy will always avail for you at anytime in any trouble, whatever it is, whichever way you're feeling, God's mercy is always available. And it counts, it works. I know I needed to live life to the full because his thoughts towards me are thoughts of good and not of evil, to bring me to an expected end. That is my promise. That is your promise. So, what's stopping you? Live life in full and live it in abundance. Till I come your way again, live a healthy life. Whatever illness you have now, you can have victory. And victory is yours, and you will be victorious.